As the sleek human spacecraft approached the massive structure floating in the vastness of space, Captain Aria Thompson felt a mix of excitement and apprehension coursing through her veins. She and her crew had been tasked with a critical mission: to strike at the heart of what they believed to be a major alien base. Little did they know, they were about to make a discovery that would change the course of human history forever. The spacecraft docked with the alien structure, and the team of highly trained soldiers disembarked, weapons at the ready. They moved swiftly through the winding corridors, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. The architecture was unlike anything they had ever seen before, with smooth organic curves and glowing panels that pulsed with an otherworldly light. As they delved deeper into the heart of the structure, they encountered alien technology beyond their wildest dreams. Massive computer systems hummed with power, and strange devices glinted in the dim light. Captain Thompson gave the order to destroy everything they could, and her team set to work, planting explosives and firing their weapons at the delicate machinery. Chaos erupted as the explosions rocked the structure, sending debris flying in all directions. Alarms blared, and the once silent corridors were filled with the sounds of destruction. The human team fought their way through the mayhem, their adrenaline pumping as they laid waste to the alien base. But as they reached the central chamber, they suddenly found themselves surrounded by a group of tall, slender beings with luminous eyes and shimmering skin. These were not the hostile aliens they had expected to find, but rather a gathering of representatives from various galactic species. The humans had unwittingly stumbled upon the Galactic Council headquarters, a place where the most advanced civilizations in the universe came together to discuss matters of peace and cooperation. The council members stared at the humans in shock and disbelief, their expressions ranging from anger to confusion. Captain Thompson and her team lowered their weapons, realizing the gravity of their mistake. They had attacked not just an alien base, but the very heart of galactic diplomacy. As the smoke cleared and the alarms fell silent, the human team found themselves face to face with the consequences of their actions. The council members demanded an explanation, their voices filled with a mix of outrage and disappointment. Captain Thompson stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest as she tried to find the right words to explain their mission and apologize for the destruction they had caused. The air was thick with tension as the human team stood before the council, their fate hanging in the balance. They had come here with the intention of striking a blow against what they believed to be a hostile alien force. But instead, they had stumbled upon a truth that shook the very foundations of their understanding of the universe. As Captain Thompson looked around at the faces of the council members, she realized that they had made a terrible mistake. The aliens they had feared and sought to destroy were not the enemy, but rather a diverse array of intelligent species who had come together in the name of peace. The weight of their actions bore down upon them, and they knew that they would have to face the consequences of their misguided attack. The Galactic Council headquarters lay in ruins around them, a testament to the destructive power of human ignorance and fear. As the council members deliberated their fate, Captain Thompson and her team could only wait and hope that they would be given a chance to make amends for their mistake. They had set out to protect humanity from what they believed to be a threat, but in doing so, they had risked the very future they sought to safeguard. The story of the human strike on the Galactic Council had only just begun, and as they stood amidst the wreckage of their own making, they knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult. They had much to learn about the true nature of the universe and the beings that inhabited it, and they could only hope that they would be given the chance to do so. For now, all they could do was wait and face the consequences of their actions, knowing that the future of humanity hung in the balance. In the aftermath of the humans' disastrous attack on the Galactic Council headquarters, the atmosphere was thick with tension and uncertainty. The council members, still reeling from the shock of the unexpected assault, gathered to deliberate the fate of the human team who had so foolishly struck at the heart of their peaceful organization. Captain Aria Thompson and her crew stood before the council, their heads bowed in shame and regret. They had come here with the intention of defending humanity against what they believed to be a hostile alien force. but instead they had unleashed destruction upon the very beings who had dedicated themselves to maintaining peace and harmony throughout the galaxy. The council members, each representing a different alien species, were a stunning array of diverse forms and features. Some were tall and slender, with shimmering skin and luminous eyes, while others were short and stout, with rough, textured hides and multiple limbs. Despite their physical differences, they all shared a common purpose: to ensure the well-being and prosperity of all sentient life in the universe. As the council deliberated, their voices rose and fell in a melodic cacophony of alien languages, each expressing their own thoughts and opinions on the matter at hand. Some called for harsh punishment, arguing that the humans' actions could not be tolerated and that an example must be made to deter future aggression. Others, however, spoke of mercy and understanding, recognizing that the humans had acted out of ignorance rather than malice. Throughout the proceedings, Captain Thompson and her team remained silent, their hearts heavy with the weight of their mistakes. They knew that they had no right to speak, no right to defend their actions in the face of the destruction they had wrought. All they could do was wait and hope that the council would show them the same compassion and understanding that they had so recklessly disregarded. As the hours stretched on, the tension in the room grew ever thicker, until at last, a decision was reached. The council had determined that the humans would be held accountable for their actions, but rather than meting out a harsh punishment, they would be given a chance to make amends. The human team would be scattered across the galaxy, each assigned to live among a different alien species for a predetermined period of time. During this time, they would be expected to learn about the culture and ways of their hosts, to understand the true diversity and beauty of the universe they had so foolishly sought to destroy. Only by walking in the shoes of those they had wronged could they hope to atone for their mistakes and forge a new path forward. Captain Thompson and her crew listened to the council's decision with a mix of relief and trepidation. They knew that the road ahead would be difficult, that they would be forced to confront their own prejudices and preconceptions as they lived among the very aliens they had once feared and hated. But they also knew that this was their chance to make things right, to prove that humanity was capable of more than just violence and destruction. As they prepared to embark on their new journey, the human team couldn't help but feel a sense of hope and possibility. They had been given a second chance, a chance to learn and grow and become something more than they had ever imagined. And though the path ahead was uncertain, they knew that they would face it together, united in their determination to build a better future for all. The story of the human strike on the Galactic Council had taken a turn, but it was far from over. As Captain Thompson and her crew set out to live among the stars, they knew that they were embarking on a journey of discovery and redemption, one that would test their strength, their courage, and their humanity. And though the future was uncertain, they knew that they would face it head-on, ready to embrace whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead. The Council's decision to scatter the human team across the galaxy to live among various alien species was met with a mix of apprehension and curiosity by Captain Area Thompson and her crew. They knew that this was their chance to atone for their misguided attack on the Galactic Council headquarters, but they also realized that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges and uncertainties. As the human team prepared to embark on their new journey, they were each assigned to a different alien society, carefully chosen by the Council to provide them with the best opportunity for growth and understanding. Some were sent to live among the tall, slender beings with shimmering skin and luminous eyes, while others were assigned to the short, stout creatures with rough, textured hides and multiple limbs. Captain Thompson found herself assigned to a species known as the Zephyrians, a race of ethereal beings who lived on a planet of floating islands and shimmering mists. As she stepped off the transport ship and onto the surface of their world, she was immediately struck by the beauty and serenity of her surroundings. The Zephyrians greeted her with a mix of curiosity and caution, their translucent wings fluttering gently in the breeze as they studied her with their large, luminous eyes. Captain Thompson felt a sense of unease wash over her as she realized just how different these beings were from anything she had ever encountered before. As the days turned into weeks, Captain Thompson struggled to adjust to life among the Zephyrians. Their customs and ways of life were so utterly foreign to her, and she found herself constantly at odds with their gentle, pacifistic nature. She longed for the structure and discipline of her military life, for the sense of purpose and direction that had always guided her actions. But as time passed, Captain Thompson began to see the Zephyrians in a new light. She watched as they moved through their world with a sense of grace and harmony, their every action guided by a deep respect for the natural world around them. She saw the way they cared for one another, the way they worked together to build a society based on cooperation and understanding. Slowly but surely, Captain Thompson began to let go of her preconceptions and prejudices, to open herself up to the possibility of a different way of life. She started to participate in the Zephyrians' daily rituals and ceremonies, to learn their language and customs, and to see the world through their eyes. As she did so, Captain Thompson began to feel a sense of peace and purpose that she had never known before. She realized that the Zephyrians had something to teach her, something that she had been missing all along. And as she embraced their way of life, she felt a sense of connection and belonging that she had never experienced before. Meanwhile, the other members of the human team were undergoing their own transformations as they lived among their assigned alien species. Some struggled to adapt, fighting against the strange customs and ways of life that surrounded them, while others embraced the opportunity to learn and grow, to see the universe through new eyes. As the months passed, the human team began to realize the true scope of their mission. They had been sent out into the galaxy not just to atone for their mistakes, but to serve as ambassadors of humanity, to build bridges of understanding and cooperation between their species and the countless others that inhabited the universe. And as they lived and worked among the aliens they had once feared and misunderstood, the human team began to see the true beauty and diversity of the galaxy around them. They realized that they had been given a rare and precious gift, a chance to be a part of something greater than themselves, to help build a future of peace and prosperity for all. The story of the human strike on the Galactic Council had taken a new turn, but it was far from over. As Captain Thompson and her crew continued to live and learn among the stars, they knew that they were part of a grand and wondrous adventure, one that would shape the course of history for generations to come. And though the path ahead was still uncertain, they faced it with a sense of hope and determination, ready to embrace whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead. As Captain Aria Thompson continued to live among the Zephyrians, she found herself struggling to fully embrace their way of life. Despite her best efforts to adapt and learn from her alien hosts, there was a part of her that still clung to her human identity, to the memories and experiences that had shaped her into the person she was. She often found herself lost in thought, reflecting on the events that had brought her to this strange and wondrous place. She remembered the thrill of the mission, the sense of purpose and duty that had driven her and her team to strike at the heart of the Galactic Council. And she remembered the horror and shame that had followed, the realization of the terrible mistake they had made. As she grappled with these conflicting emotions, Captain Thompson found solace in the company of a young Zephyrian named Zelos. Zelos was different from the other members of his species, with a curious and adventurous spirit that set him apart from his more reserved and cautious kin. Over time, Captain Thompson and Zelos developed a close bond, spending long hours exploring the floating islands and shimmering mists of the Zephyrian homeworld. Zelos taught her about the history and culture of his people, sharing stories and legends that had been passed down through generations. In return, Captain Thompson shared her own experiences and perspectives, offering a glimpse into the world of humanity and the challenges they faced. As their friendship deepened, Captain Thompson began to see the Zephyrians in a new light. She realized that beneath their ethereal and otherworldly exterior, they were not so different from humans after all. They too had hopes and dreams, fears and doubts, and a deep desire to find meaning and purpose in their lives. Through her conversations with Zelos, Captain Thompson began to understand the true nature of the Galactic Council and the role that humanity could play in shaping the future of the galaxy. She saw that the Council was not just a collection of alien species, but a symbol of unity and cooperation, a testament to the power of diversity and understanding. And as she contemplated this newfound knowledge, Captain Thompson began to feel a sense of hope and possibility that she had never known before. She realized that the strike on the Galactic Council had been a turning point, not just for herself and her team, but for all of humanity. It had forced them to confront their own prejudices and assumptions, to see the galaxy through new eyes, and to embrace the countless wonders and possibilities that lay ahead. With a renewed sense of purpose, Captain Thompson threw herself into her studies of Zephyrian culture and society, determined to learn as much as she could about this strange and beautiful world. She worked alongside Zelos and the other members of his community, participating in their daily rituals and ceremonies, and learning the intricate dance of their social and political structures. As the weeks turned into months, Captain Thompson found herself changing in ways she had never thought possible. She became more patient, more understanding, more attuned to the rhythms and flows of the world around her. And as she did so, she began to see the true potential of humanity, not as conquerors or destroyers, but as explorers and collaborators, working alongside the countless other species of the galaxy to build a better future for all. The story of Captain Thompson's journey among the Zephyrians was far from over, but it had already taught her so much about herself and the universe she inhabited. She knew that there would be challenges and obstacles ahead, that the path to understanding and cooperation was never an easy one. But she also knew that she was not alone, that she had the support and friendship of Zelos and countless others like him, all working towards a common goal of peace and prosperity. And so, as she looked out over the shimmering mists and floating islands of the Zephyrian homeworld, Captain Thompson felt a sense of hope and determination that she had never known before. She knew that the future was uncertain, but she was ready to face it head-on, armed with the knowledge and understanding she had gained, and the unshakable belief that together, anything was possible. As Captain Aria Thompson and her fellow humans continued to live and learn among the various alien species they had been assigned to, the Galactic Council closely monitored their progress. The Council members were pleased to see the positive changes taking place within the human team, as they slowly but surely began to shed their prejudices and embrace the diversity of the galaxy around them. However, the Council also recognized that the humans' journey was far from over. They had taken the first steps towards understanding and cooperation, but there was still much work to be done. The scars left by the humans' attack on the Council headquarters ran deep, and many of the alien species remained wary and distrustful of humanity as a whole. In an effort to bridge this divide and foster greater understanding between humans and the rest of the galactic community, the Council decided to offer the human team one final chance to prove themselves. They would be brought back to the Council headquarters and given the opportunity to address the assembled representatives of the various alien species, to share their experiences and insights, and to make a case for humanity's place in the galactic community. When Captain Thompson and her team received the news of the Council's decision, they were both excited and apprehensive. They knew that this was a tremendous opportunity, a chance to make a real difference in the course of galactic history. But they also knew that the stakes were high, and that any misstep or misunderstanding could have disastrous consequences. As they prepared for their return to the Council headquarters, the human team worked tirelessly to consolidate their knowledge and experiences, to find the right words and actions to convey their message of hope and cooperation. They met with their alien hosts and mentors, seeking guidance and support, and rehearsing their speeches and presentations until they felt confident and prepared. When the day of the Council meeting finally arrived, Captain Thompson and her team stepped into the grand chamber with a sense of purpose and determination. They looked out over the sea of alien faces, each representing a different species and culture, and felt a sense of awe and wonder at the incredible diversity of the galaxy they inhabited. As they took their places at the center of the chamber, Captain Thompson stepped forward to address the Council. She spoke of her own journey, of the mistakes and misunderstandings that had led to the attack on the Council headquarters, and of the profound changes that had taken place within herself and her team as they lived and worked among the alien species. She spoke of the beauty and wonder of the galaxy, of the countless possibilities that lay ahead for all species to explore and discover. And she spoke of the need for cooperation and understanding, for building bridges instead of walls, and for embracing the diversity that made the galaxy such an incredible and wondrous place. As Captain Thompson spoke, the council members listened with rapt attention, their expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism to outright hostility. Some of the alien representatives nodded in agreement, while others shook their heads in disapproval, muttering under their breath in their native tongues. But as the human team continued to share their stories and experiences, a gradual shift began to take place within the council chamber. The tension and mistrust that had hung heavy in the air slowly began to dissipate, replaced by a growing sense of understanding and empathy. One by one, the alien representatives began to speak up, sharing their own stories and perspectives, and expressing their willingness to work towards a greater understanding and cooperation with humanity. They spoke of the need for forgiveness and reconciliation, for moving beyond the mistakes of the past and building a better future together. As the council meeting drew to a close, Captain Thompson and her team felt a sense of hope and optimism that they had never known before. They had taken a great risk in coming before the council, but their message had been heard and embraced by many of the alien representatives. They knew that there was still much work to be done, but they also knew that they had taken an important step forward towards a future of greater understanding. In the wake of the momentous council meeting, Captain Aria Thompson and her alien friend Silos found themselves working tirelessly to bring their vision of galactic peace and cooperation to fruition. They knew that the road ahead would be long and challenging, but they were determined to do whatever it took to build a better future for all species. As they set about their work, Captain Thompson and Silos began to develop a detailed plan of action. They reached out to their respective communities, seeking input and support from humans and Zephyrians alike. They organized meetings and conferences, bringing together representatives from different species to discuss the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. At first, progress was slow and difficult. Many of the alien species remained wary and distrustful of humanity, and there were those who actively opposed any efforts at cooperation or collaboration. But Captain Thompson and Silas refused to be discouraged, and they continued to push forward with their mission, one step at a time. As they worked, they began to see small but significant changes taking place around them. Humans and aliens who had once viewed each other with suspicion and hostility began to reach out and connect, sharing stories and experiences, and finding common ground in their hopes and dreams for the future. One of the key challenges that Captain Thompson and Zelos faced was finding a way to address the concerns and fears of those who opposed their efforts. They knew that many of these individuals had valid reasons for their skepticism, and that it would take time and patience to win them over. To this end, they organized a series of public forums and debates, inviting representatives from all sides to share their perspectives and concerns. They listened carefully to the arguments and counterarguments, and worked to find ways to address the underlying issues and concerns. Through these efforts, Captain Thompson and Zelos began to build a growing coalition of support for their vision of galactic peace and cooperation. They reached out to leaders and influencers from all corners of the galaxy, seeking their endorsement and support, and slowly but surely they began to see the tide turning in their favor. As momentum continued to build, Captain Thompson and Zelos knew that the time had come to take their efforts to the next level. They began to draft a new treaty, one that would codify the principles of peace, cooperation, and mutual respect that they had been working towards for so long. The process of drafting the treaty was long and arduous, with countless hours spent in negotiation and debate. But through it all, Captain Thompson and Zelos remained steadfast in their commitment to their vision, and they refused to give up or compromise on their core principles. Finally, after months of hard work and dedication, the new treaty was ready to be presented to the Galactic Council. Captain Thompson and Zelos stood before the assembled representatives, their hearts racing with excitement and anticipation, as they presented the document that they hoped would change the course of galactic history. As the council members reviewed the treaty, a hush fell over the chamber. For a long moment, there was only silence, broken only by the occasional murmur or whisper. And then, slowly but surely, a sense of hope and possibility began to spread throughout the room. One by one, the alien representatives began to voice their support for the treaty, praising its vision and its potential to bring about a new era of peace and cooperation. And as the final vote was tallied, Captain Thompson and Zelos knew that they had achieved something truly remarkable. The new treaty was a triumph of diplomacy and dedication, a testament to the power of individual action and the importance of building bridges instead of walls. And as news of the treaty spread throughout the galaxy, countless individuals from all species and cultures began to look to the future with renewed hope and optimism, knowing that a better tomorrow was finally within reach. For Captain Thompson and Zelos, the journey was far from over, but they knew that they had taken an important step forward, towards a future where all species could live and work together in harmony, united by a common purpose and a shared vision for the greater good. As the news of the historic treaty spread throughout the galaxy, Captain Thompson and Zelos knew that their work was far from over. While the majority of the galactic community had embraced the principles of peace and cooperation, there were still those who remained opposed to the idea of interspecies unity. Among the most vocal of these opponents were a group of extremist aliens known as the Zorgans. The Zorgans were a warlike species, known for their aggressive tendencies and their belief in the superiority of their own kind. They had long viewed the other species of the galaxy with contempt and hostility, and they saw the treaty as a threat to their way of life. As the Zorgans began to mobilize their forces and spread propaganda against the treaty, Captain Thompson and Zelos knew that they had to act quickly to prevent a full-scale galactic conflict. They reached out to their allies and supporters, urging them to stand firm in their commitment to peace and cooperation, and to resist the temptation to respond to the Zorgans with violence or aggression. At the same time, Captain Thompson and Zelos began to work tirelessly to try to find a peaceful resolution to the conflict. They met with Zorgan leaders and representatives, seeking to understand their concerns and to find common ground where possible. They also worked to build bridges between the Zorgans and the other species of the galaxy, hoping to foster greater understanding and empathy on all sides. Despite their best efforts, however, the situation continued to escalate. The Zorgans became increasingly aggressive in their rhetoric and their actions, launching small-scale attacks against other species and threatening to withdraw from the Galactic Council altogether. As tensions reached a breaking point, Captain Thompson and Zelos knew that they had to take decisive action. They convened an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council, bringing together representatives from all species to discuss the crisis and to try to find a way forward. The meeting was tense and emotional, with heated arguments and accusations flying back and forth across the chamber. But through it all, Captain Thompson and Zelos remained calm and focused, urging all sides to remember the principles of peace and cooperation that had brought them together in the first place. As the debate raged on, a small group of Zorgan extremists launched a surprise attack on the council chamber itself. Chaos erupted as alarms blared and security forces rushed to respond. In the midst of the confusion, Captain Thompson and Zelos found themselves face to face with the Zorgan leader, a fierce and battle-hardened warrior known as Crag. For a moment, it seemed as though all hope was lost. Crag and his followers were heavily armed and highly trained, and they seemed determined to stop at nothing to achieve their goals. But as the fighting raged around them, Captain Thompson and Zelos refused to give up. With quick thinking and brave action, they managed to disarm Crag and his followers, using a combination of diplomacy and strategic maneuvering to bring an end to the fighting. And as the dust settled and the smoke cleared, they emerged victorious, having prevented a full-scale galactic war and preserved the fragile peace that they had worked so hard to build. In the aftermath of the crisis, the Galactic Council convened once again to assess the damage and to chart a course forward. And as they did so, They looked to Captain Thompson and Zelos as examples of the kind of leadership and courage that would be needed to build a better future for all. The journey ahead would be long and difficult, with many challenges and obstacles still to be overcome. But with the support of their allies and the strength of their convictions, Captain Thompson and Zelos knew that they could face whatever lay ahead, and that they would never stop fighting for the principles of peace, cooperation, and mutual understanding that had brought them together in the first place. And so, as the galaxy looked to the future with renewed hope and determination, Captain Thompson and Zelos stood tall and proud, ready to lead the way forward into a brighter tomorrow, one step at a time.